Wow. Just wow. Somehow I hit 1,000 subscribers. That's a pretty big number. I mean, just look at it. It's 4 digits. When I first started making proper videos, even 100 subscribers seemed miles away. I just had a lot to say, so I made some videos and threw them out into the void of the internet. But then people actually started watching. And I don't mean my poor friends who I basically forced to watch my videos. And now, over a year later, here we are at 1,000 subscribers. Well, actually a bit more than that now. Sorry, I'm a bit late. I still can't wrap my head around how that happened, but I thought I'd celebrate by doing a Q&A, since that's what people do, right? Anyway, let's see what you have to say. Ludmila Baranova asks, if you had to take the mantle of Doctor Who showrunner from Chris Chibnall right now, how would you proceed with all of the Timeless Child mess? Oh god, I have absolutely no idea how to fix this mess. I think the easiest way, albeit a cop-out, would be just to say the Master hacked into the Matrix to antagonise the Doctor and bring her down to his level by making her seek revenge on the Time Lords. I think the main problem is that the Timeless Child is the Doctor. If it was unrelated to either the Master or the Doctor, I think it would be an interesting story, although I still wouldn't choose it myself. To be fair, we only have the Master's word that it's the Doctor. For all we know, he hacked the Matrix and deleted the rest of the story, which shows what really happened to the Timeless Child, because it doesn't fit his narrative. I do honestly feel bad for whoever actually does have to mop all this up. The Master asks, what would you do if Doctor Who was under your control? How would you change the season? I have plenty ideas about what I'd do if I was in control of Doctor Who. I've even got an episode written and a series overview. In all honesty, as much as I hate the Timeless Child stuff, I wouldn't want to spend ages and ages retconning that, because it wouldn't really give me a whole lot of time to do my own stuff. I think I'd spend about half a series giving it a loose, ambiguous retcon and then move on. Ethan Simonson asks, opinions on the 8th Doctor as played by Paul McGann? I love him. Not listened to anything with the 8th Doctor, but I love him anyway. I've watched Night of the Doctor and I've seen the TV movie, but Big Finish isn't really my thing. The main reason I like the 8th Doctor is mainly because of what he represents. He's the odd one out, the Doctor who only got 2 appearances on screen. I see it as a bit of an underdog, outcast situation. McGann was tossed aside after the TV movie failed, despite his appearance not even really being the reason it failed. And as much as I love Night of the Doctor, I kind of hate that McGann wasn't in the actual Day of the Doctor special. He deserved to be, but he got passed over in favour of the creation of yet another Doctor who never got enough screen time. Although I do understand why they went with the War Doctor instead of the 8th Doctor, and I do like John Hurt's performance. I just want more 8th Doctor on screen, honestly. Grom Boxman asks, what would your dream multi-Doctor story be? I'd love to see the 10th and 12th Doctors together in a story, mainly because they're my 2 favourites. Although, like most fans nowadays, I really wish we could have the 9th Doctor back for a story in some capacity. The 9th Doctor is severely underrated, and Series 1 is absolutely fantastic. It's such a shame that Christopher Eccleston was made to feel uncomfortable enough to leave the show and burn all bridges, although I'll always respect him for standing his ground and refusing to accept what was going on behind the scenes. I'd love to see the 8th, 9th, 10th and 12th Doctors together, sorry Matt, as they all contrast really well. I've had a bit of an unconventional multi-Doctor story on my mind for a while. I'd have the current Doctor find out that their entire life has been a TV show, and that they're a human actor. In their denial, they end up meeting some other actors who have played the role, and it ends up being some giant conspiracy, with other incarnations of the Doctor also having been trapped. Upon realising that they are actually Time Lords and that their life hasn't been a TV show, they work together to stop the real villain. I know it sounds stupid, but if done well, it could be a really great multi-Doctor story as well as a meta commentary on the show itself. Blake Jameson asks, all-time favourite episode and eras of the show? My favourite episode has to be Midnight. It's just masterfully done, and it nails the feeling of paranoia and intensity. I love when writers challenge themselves, and you can really tell how much Russell T Davies challenged himself with this episode. Everything takes place in one single room with a small cast, and there's no companion. It's such a bold move to make, especially at the time it was released. In terms of eras, my favourite showrunner era era is easily the Davies era. Part of it is due to nostalgia of growing up with it, but it's also just so well done, with everything combining to create such an iconic and tight era. There's a clear identity. The universe feels small, but not in a bad way. You have Torchwood and the newly militarized unit. You have companions regularly returning, and it all culminates in the series 4 finale, which perfectly combines all the moving parts of the Davies era. I have so much respect for what Davies was able to do with Doctor Who after it had been a relic of the 20th century, known for wobbly sets, bubble wrap aliens, and campy acting. Davies made the show appointment television with newfound relevance, but without setting out and chasing trends. It knew what it wanted to be, and it knocked it out of the park. But as much as I like the Davies era, the 10th Doctor isn't even my favourite Doctor, although he's a very, very close second. My favourite Doctor is easily the 12th Doctor. I just love the 12th Doctor era so much, it's almost perfect. Capaldi brought so much nuance and passion for the role. To me, he's the definitive Doctor. He's old and wise, but youthful and naive. He's brash and arrogant, but kind and forgiving. Capaldi just fits the role perfectly, and his Doctor's relationship with Clara provides one of the most high concept and consistently brilliant eras of Doctor Who history. Speaking of Clara, Darkness96 asks, do you actually like Clara? Oh yes. Yes, I do. Clara is my favourite companion, although Martha and Donna aren't far behind. I absolutely adore Clara because she provided great storytelling in all 3 series she was a part of. She will always be a controversial companion, but I feel like her 3 series give her an interesting character arc, seeing how she becomes more and more like the Doctor, wanting to emulate him until it catches up to her and kills her, because she isn't a Time Lord, so her sacrifice is permanent. I don't like that people criticise her for being too important and call her time on the show Clara Who. 1, because that was literally the point of her story arc, and 2, that's just what the Moffat era was like. Series 5 and 6 are the Amy Pond show, so of course Clara would be the focus of her time on the show. Beetle149 says, any episodes beloved by fans that you hate? I find it really hard to hate most Doctor Who episodes. Usually I just feel a bit apathetic to the ones I don't like. If anything, I tend to love the episodes other fans hate. There aren't many episodes I don't like that fans love, but if I had to pick, I'd probably say Asylum of the Daleks and Angels Take Manhattan. I do love the Oswin stuff in Asylum of the Daleks, but I don't like pretty much anything else. It just doesn't make sense for the Daleks to have either a parliament or an asylum. It's just not how they operate. The only reason Dalek Khan was kept alive when he was insane was because he saved Davros and became a prophet. Any other insane Daleks would just be killed on the spot. It also baffles me that Moffat set up an Amy and Rory divorce off screen that gets resolved by the end of the episode. It just feels weird and sudden. I feel like it should have been a wider story in Series 7A, making Amy's sacrifice at the end of Angels Take Manhattan more gut-wrenching and dramatic. Speaking of Angels Take Manhattan, whilst I love neo-noir and the general setting and aesthetic of the episode, it's just always rubbed me the wrong way because of how it treated the Weeping Angels. But I kind of made a whole video about that already. And yes, I know, in Series 5, the Weeping Angels snap necks because of the crack and they don't send people back in time. I know, you don't have to keep commenting about it. Every day someone mentions it and it gets really annoying. I know. Jacob Duffel asks, what's your favourite type of Doctor Who episode? I always appreciate when Doctor Who gets experimental. I love the experimental episodes like Love and Monsters, Midnight, Turn Left, Listen, Sleep No More and Heaven Sent. I do like the companion-like or Doctor-like episodes, but really it has to be Base Under Siege, hasn't it? You can't really go wrong with a good old Base Under Siege. I mean, just look at Dalek, Parting of the Ways, Impossible Planet, Under the Lake, Waters of Mars. There are just so many great Base Under Siege stories. There's just something about them that works. It's always exciting to watch and they really capture the essence of Doctor Who. Philip Hawkins asks, what other franchises, non-Doctor Who related, do you enjoy? In terms of full-on franchises, there aren't many. I grew up with Star Wars, but I've definitely drifted away from it since the sequel trilogy came out, but I do like The Mandalorian and The Clone Wars. I absolutely adore the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings trilogy, all 3 movies are perfect, especially the music. I listen to it all the time as I'm just going about my day, just like how I do with Murray Gold's Doctor Who music. It's just amazing. I do have a soft spot for Power Rangers, mainly because I grew up watching it almost all the time. I've seen all the seasons up until RPM, although I skipped Turbo and Mystic Force because honestly, f*** both those seasons. The only good thing about Turbo is the finale. But honestly, most of the things I watch I wouldn't really consider franchises. Right now, TV wise, I like The Expanse, Better Call Saul, The Boys, and Inside Number 9, but come to think of it, I don't even really watch all that much TV anymore. I just watch YouTube videos. Melodramatic People asks, what inspired you to create Doctor Who content on YouTube? There's not really much to it. For a while I was working in a warehouse and in my free time I made cringy story time style videos. But then I got really into video essays and decided to make a couple. I'd recently gotten back into Doctor Who in the lead up to series 11 and I had a little idea about how I thought the Davies era fixed the Daleks. So I made some videos about it and the rest is history. I didn't even really set out with the intention of just making Doctor Who videos. I kind of wanted to make all sorts of video essays, but I kind of just ended up making Doctor Who videos, and yeah, so I guess that's how I got to where I am now. Splasher Blaster asks, for each Doctor, at what point do you believe they actually asserted themselves as the Doctor? And Joe Duffy asks, what is your favourite episode of each Doctor that best shows their personalities? I really don't know how to answer these 2 questions, unfortunately. I think the first 4 New Who Doctors established themselves within their first episode, but I didn't feel like 13 asserted herself as the Doctor until halfway through series 12. And in terms of personalities, I can't point to any standout episodes that show a clear view of each Doctor's personality, because I've always found them to be really consistent across the board, especially as they all have really complex personalities that can't be summed up in just one story. M. Tiemery asks, which season is best to binge watch during this coronavirus shitstorm? Also, do you care about wardrobe in Doctor Who? If you do, what are some standout costumes you like? I think we're going to be hunkered down for a very long time, so you could probably start from the first Doctor and get up to date by the time the coronavirus stuff is all over. But if I really had to pick, I'd say either series 3, 4 or 9, as not only are they my personal favourite series, they also each have really good stories and general arcs, and I really don't care too much about wardrobe when it comes to Doctor Who. I'm one of those people that doesn't like when companions go back in time and walk around in modern clothing, but that's pretty much all I care about. I like every Doctor's costume except 6 and 13, but I can't really say there are any other standout costumes I really like. Kanashimi435 asks, what is your favourite episode for each Doctor? I'm not good at favourites, and these are always in flux, especially the classic Who stories. But to list them off, I'd say First Doctor, Edge of Destruction, Second Doctor, Enemy of the World, Third Doctor, Inferno, Fourth Doctor, Ark in Space, Fifth Doctor, Caves of Androzani. I'm not familiar enough with the 6th and 7th Doctors yet, so I can't pick one for them. 9th Doctor, Dalek, 10th Doctor, Midnight, 11th Doctor, God Complex, 12th Doctor, Heaven Sent, and 13th Doctor, Can You Hear Me? As I said, these are constantly changing as I rewatch episodes, and I've never been good at favourites. TARDIS Team asks, if you could have any other classic design of Cybermen return, what would it be? Probably the Troughton era Cybermen from the Moonbase, Tomb of the Cybermen, and Wheel in Space. Pretty much every other type of Cyberman from Classic Who has been represented in some way, since the most recent Cybermen took the earmuff design from the later Classic Who Cybermen. So it would be nice to have a similar design to the Troughton era ones, although made to look a little bit less like people in rubber suits. So that's all I have time for. Once again, thank you so much for helping me reach 1,000 subscribers. I know this is a phrase that gets thrown around, but I literally could not have done this without you. Without any of you, none of this could have been possible, so thank you. Here's to 1,000 more. Maybe if I reach 2,000 subscribers, I can put together a better subscriber special.